Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to my thoughts on LEGO Star Wars 2 for the DS. Let's get started with what is likely going to be the very last video in this series. We're going to start getting shorter here up until we start talking about glitches, because I really don't need a lot of time to be able to make my point. You'll see here in Mos Eisley, I can shoot at enemies from a fair distance away. Here I'm shooting at a hill from a pretty good distance, and I'm just not hitting anything. You don't seem to lock on to enemies once you reach a certain distance. Camera, the way the camera behaves, sometimes it's fine, the rest of the time it actively fights against you. It will slow down, so your character actions slow down. If you have to, say, shoot a camera and it's around the corner, the character won't target it on their own. So you know how when you select a player for free play and the game picks out some other characters at random and makes your party? This game doesn't do that. Instead, you can pick every character in free play at will. Why do the ghosts take damage? If they're like every other character in the game, what warrants the million stud price tag? If you're just like every other character that I have, why am I investing time and money to unlock you just to have you behave like everyone else? The AI. Okay, so once again, this is another very clear showing that this game was just not finished, not even remotely. Here's the first level in the game. So here's the console version. You see the door blows open and the AI pathfind to their spots, and one of them will target you and the others will target the rebel soldiers or your helper as secondary targets. And if you start getting out of their range or line of sight, they will chase after you. Now the rebel soldiers won't kill the stormtroopers and the stormtroopers won't kill the rebels. You're the only one who can take them out. Here's the DS version. You see the stormtroopers apparently misplaced their Death Star elevators as they're on the rebel ship somehow. Anyway, when you enter the first room, the rebels and the stormtroopers are just shooting at each other. They spawn and they'll fire and move and fire and move, and it all seems very random. Like, not a lot of thought went into it. If you don't shoot them, they don't shoot you. Caveat: they won't die unless you shoot them. So your helper NPC and every NPC really are essentially useless. And I have that exact same criticism for the console version as well. They have extremely limited, if not non-existent pathfinding. You'll see here that the enemy NPCs, once they know I'm here and I leave their line of sight, they try to find me or reposition so they can continue to shoot at me. But they don't follow me. Music. I don't know a whole lot about sound design or music or musical theory, so I can't offer too much here. It sounded okay. Nothing stood out as being awful as far as the quality is concerned. What I will question is, who decided what sound bites and musical scores went where? Because coming from the PS2 version to this, I got some questions. What is this music here in the last scene of the game? This is supposed to be a celebration to the end of the years under the Empire's control. Where's the celebration music? No, don't start dancing! This is just a tiny list of the glitches I encountered over my most recent playthroughs, and you've seen a few of them. On Rescue the Princess, the Falcon can fly in backwards, as you've seen. NPCs on the same team will shoot each other, in example, the rebels. If you accidentally shoot your allies, they will continuously kill you until you kill them. Sometimes on Blockade Runner, this grapple circle won't appear. Most icily, you will completely disappear, but NPCs can still see you. Battle of Endor, if you go back to the start area after you rescue the Ewok at the hut, the camera will not zoom in. I can only assume this is a glitch because I can't imagine that this is a conscious decision. That and it'll zoom in if you die, so you know. And the Ewok counter is just not there, as I mentioned. Some examples of completely game-breaking glitches are block won't go in a terminal that is necessary for progression. Grapple point doesn't spawn, you need that to progress. Here's the thing. As fun as people may find some of these glitches, and as annoying and frustrating as others will find them, regardless of opinions on the matter, at the end of the day, objectively, a game riddled with so many glitches is just simply not good. The fact that this game has as many bugs as it does to begin with tells me that almost nobody playtested this to find them, and they have no intention of fixing it. So why is it a problem? A portion of these glitches can make the game unplayable and impossible to finish, to the point where you have to constantly restart the game, restart levels, so on, etc., etc. And even then, people still bought this game, including me. And it was released in such a state to suggest that it wasn't even close to being finished. People bought it anyway, which tells the company, hey, we can literally sell anything and people will buy it. Which shows other companies that they can get away with the exact same thing. How do I know this? Because years later, Warner Brothers tried the exact same thing with Batman Arkham Knight on Steam. And now here we are again with the whole cyberpunk stuff. Also, minor nitpick here. What's with the font? What is this anyway? It's not Calibri. What the hell is this? I know I said we'd look at Metacritic, but there's really not a lot for me to go over on there, so I'll unfortunately just have to settle with IGN, it seems. So remember when I looked at IGN's review on this? I want to do a better job at that. LEGO Star Wars 2 may be a sequel to last year's game that was based upon the prequel trilogy, but it's the first time that the game has been made for the Nintendo DS handheld. And though the entire DS rendition pulls from the same excellent design that the consoles, PC, and PlayStation Portable systems are currently enjoying, it's absolutely riddled with bugs and glitches, and in many cases, these bugs make some portions of the game, mostly the multiplayer aspect, almost entirely unplayable. Same design, even ignoring the graphic stuff, which I'll get into in a moment. The level designs are so astoundingly different from each other, it's quite frankly baffling that this is the handheld version. I mean, seriously, same design. Alright. Well, here's the hub in LEGO Star Wars 2 on the PlayStation 2. Here's the hub here. Different. There are 5 levels in each chapter here. There are 6 on the PS2. Different. Here's the first mission on PlayStation 2. Here's the first mission here. Completely different. Now, I can forgive cutting chapters and level design. I understand that fully recreating the game would take a lot of space that the DS game card just doesn't have, and a lot of processing that is a little beyond the DS system. But good lord, they managed to get closer in the complete saga. So what went wrong here? It was released in 2006. Know what else was released in 2006? New Super Mario Bros. DS. This is where I started talking about graphics. What is this? Well, Bowiehunter, the DS is an underpowered system with limited capabilities in terms of graphics. Yes, the DS is not as powerful as the consoles. That is correct. However, this does not excuse this kind of graphic quality. Here is New Super Mario Bros. DS. You can see the characters are pixelated due to the hardware limitations. However, you can also see that they are quite nicely 3D rendered, faces and everything. Here's Bionicles, made by the same companies, I'll add. Now let's look at this abomination. Look at how blurry and pixelated everything is. This is a criticism that I had for the complete saga, that I really wish I mentioned when I made my video. Do the levels and environments really have to be this blurry? Anyway, back on topic, this looks like their first rendition of the characters and levels, and instead of polishing them, they said, screw it, it's good enough. And even though many of the cutscenes of the console games have been abridged or removed, they're still there in some fashion, offering a taste of the humor of the original design. Just the cutscenes? This is a perfect opportunity to rag on the levels, but I'll do that after this. Abridged? I'd say that's charitable, because I see these cutscenes as completely nonsensical. The way I see it, if you have a game on the consoles and the PC, and they all have the same levels, designed the same way, you can at least make an effort to make the DS version of the levels the same way. Like, I get it, shorten them, combine them even. But why make it different? And I would say objectively, do not buy this game. Because we shouldn't support releasing unfinished games. And I'm not talking about the fact that it's just so incredibly different from the sources and the graphic quality being what it is. All of that is secondary. But objectively, a game that is riddled with as many glitches and poor AI as this game is, this game was far from a finished state. As I said at the beginning of this video, an adaptation should strive to accurately portray its source material. The console version does this very well. The DS version, based on everything that I went over, does the exact opposite of that. And over the years, I'm still plagued with the question of why? Why was this version of this game, in particular, the one that seemed so neglected? I still don't have an answer for that. Anyway, let's look at some comments. I've been given reference to the PSP and the Game Boy Advance versions of this game, saying that they're better than this. I've not experienced it myself, as I can't get my hands on either of those at the moment of writing this. However, I saw gameplay from both, and I have to agree. It's a lot better than whatever this is. Now, a lot of people love the game because of the glitches, and that's perfectly fine, but we need to be careful with that. Game-breaking glitches that halt progress and make it impossible to complete the game are examples of what I would argue to be not fun. I remember not being able to beat the game, as there were a plethora of game-breaking glitches in free mode, i.e. the pit and the Death Star, plus a broken ending room and a glitch in Jabba's palace stopping you from freeing Han. Unfinished? To be an unfinished game, it must really be impossible to beat. I completed the story mode of all levels after avoiding these traps, aka glitches. Save your money? When I started to think, fuck the reviews, they're fucking garbage, I gave it a try and liked it. Your ability to finish a game has no bearing on whether it's finished or not. An example of this would be Cyberpunk, or a less known title, Mists of Aden. If you aren't able to complete the game because of glitches, well, that's just icing on the cake. One's enjoyment of a game is entirely subjective. I can't tell you that you're wrong for liking something, but I can tell you when a game is objectively unfinished. And this game, along with countless others, is an example of exactly that. Also, that's a lovely and rational response to reviews. The PS2 does not have the same processing powers as the PS2, Xbox, and GameCube, so duh, the NPCs won't be as smart as the other consoles. Plus, other games have glitches too. This argument goes out the window once you look at the complete saga. Same hardware, but the graphics don't look as blended together and cartoony, and the NPCs are infinitely more competent with pathfinding and aggro to the player. Bruh, it is a DS. What did you expect? I thought this game was good for a DS game. I expected better quality in a finished product, like the other DS games that I played, prior to this one. Continuously saying that it's a DS game is not an argument or excuse for why it's in the state that it's in, because of what I've been saying almost ad nauseum to this point. There are other games that exist on the same hardware that are of better quality and finished. Anyway, I still have the same recommendation as I did before. Throw it away, go buy something better. But those are just my thoughts.